let me tell you a little about what we're going to do, what we're not going to do, and so on here. What we're going to do is you have your list of complaints about Roger, and you have your list, right? We talked last night, I think, or yesterday, and I asked you to make up these lists. So what we're going to do is I'm going to have you make one of your complaints. We may discuss it a little bit. We're going to do some tapping on that. And while you tap, you will be borrowing benefits. You'll just tap right along. Just whatever she's saying, you just borrow benefits, okay? And you will borrow benefits as well. One thing we're not going to do, and this is important to recognize, is I'm going to keep this on the light side. It may well be that maybe something Mary says or something Roger says clearly and obviously triggers something from the past, like something your father did or your mother did or some other experience. And what I really don't want to do is, for this procedure, to go back in that and get into some heavy stuff, okay? That we're not going to do. We're just going to do a whole lot of borrowing benefits on these other issues. And just as you tap on the what may be in some cases surface issues or maybe the issue, we're likely to get our benefits, okay? But everybody else can get benefits as well. Is that clear? Mm-hmm. So I don't think I'm going to start digging in under surface here, okay? So anyway, this is your chance, Mary.
Okay, I have a thing going where I can get really resentful and say, oh, poor me, I have to spend all this time cleaning when I can do my life in ease and grace with all my projects and things, but Roger's a slob and I have to clean up after him all the time. So
Okay.
I hate to clean.
You hate to clean up after him, or you
Yeah,
hate to clean?
I hate to clean up after him. And I like to live my life really efficiently so I don't have to spend a lot of time cleaning up big messes.
Okay, and he makes big messes?
Yes. He has a spot now where he can make his big mess.
You've got to the point where he has a spot?
Yeah, yes.
Okay. So you can find your mess at the spot?
I don't know, it's perception that I make messes, yeah.
Notice, it's perception. To you, they're not a mess.
Not a big mess.
Okay, but to you, they're a big mess.
Yes.
Okay, different writing on our walls about what messes are.
Right.
Okay, all right.
And I know I'm right.
Of course you're right. Of course you're right. And you're right as well.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
But let me interject this. One of the things that I think is important, and where EFT is a delight in relationship counseling like that, is she will have her version of what this is, and he will have his version. And typically in couples counseling, what you do is you say, well, okay, now let's just talk here, and let's have insights to where you are, and let's have insights into where you are, and now you two guys can compromise.
Yeah.
Now, you've already done that to a degree. He has his spot, okay? However, when you start compromising, and this is the important part here, where EFT plays such a nice role, is when you start having to compromise, you have to use willpower, and you're going to start resenting it. Are you with me? The wife, for example, who resents her husband for watching television on Sunday, watching the football games, and says he's ignoring me, goes back to father ignoring her years ago, and he would watch television, etc. The typical way of doing this is to compromise. If Roger's is the husband in this case, he can't watch his game as often. He has to only watch it up till halftime, to satisfy, the wife who thinks you're ignoring her. You have to grit your teeth, and you're going to resent doing that a little bit. Am I correct?
It depends how you do it.
Well, okay.
If I feel that something's being taken from me, I will resent it. If I
Okay.
feel I'm giving it freely, I will not resent it.
Yes, and there's a big difference in there. But
There's
as long
big.
as you're having to, quote, compromise, do something you don't really want to do, to compromise for the good of the relationship, you're going to resent it a little bit.
Right.
Maybe even a lot,
Right.
and vice versa. That's what's going to happen. Now, in this case, in your view, he's sloppy. And in his view, not so much.
Not so much.
Okay. So in order for him to be as neat as you want him to be, he's got to compromise. Am I correct?
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to resent that a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's no perfect answers here, but one thing we're going to try to do is to sever your emotional response to that. So when you see what you consider to be a mess, it's not such a big deal anymore.
Yeah.
I see this very doubtful look.
I know, I was just considering one of my big pictures of.
All right, well, give us
mess.
the big picture.
Okay, the garage, the tools. Intermittently, I put all the tools where they belong, and then
Well, where you think they belong.
where I think they belong, and then I go out and they're all over the place, all everywhere, on the floor, under things, left at the last project.
You want me to respond?
Oh no!
Yeah, go ahead,
He's
go
gonna-
ahead, go ahead.
No, she's absolutely right. I'm terrible at keeping tools. I'm not going to contest that.
Oh, okay. All right, all right. So why do they stay in their disarray after you use them?
Yeah, I don't want to bother to put them back in their places, and that's,
Okay.
that's my nature.
Okay, all right, all right. All right,
I rest
borrow-
my
you borrow-
case.
of course, you're right, right?
It's hard
Okay.
not to be right.
We're going to tap with you.
Yeah.
You're going to borrow benefits, and so are you, okay?
Okay.
Even though I see this
Even though I see
as
this
a great big mess,
as a great big mess,
and I see it and it really bothers me,
and I see it and it really bothers me,
I somehow or other
I somehow or other
am just not willing to let it go.
am just not willing to let it go.
I would rather be angry
I'd rather be angry
than to have a few tools spread around the garage.
than have a few tools spread around the garage.
Somehow or other, a few tools spread around the garage
Somehow or other, a few tools spread around the
really gets
garage
to me.
really gets to me.
I'm really angry about it.
I'm really angry
I
about
wonder if
it.
it's the tools
I wonder if it's the tools
or an excuse for something else.
or an excuse for something
Maybe it
else.
triggers into something else in my past.
Maybe it triggers into something else in my
Or
past.
whatever it is,
Whatever it
here I
is,
am on public film,
here I am on public film,
griping and complaining
griping and complaining,
about some tools on the ground and on, tools where they shouldn't be.
tools where they shouldn't
Well, it
be.
And it might even be costing me a little bit
It might even be costing me a little
in
bit
my relationship.
in my relationship.
Now, it's one thing
It's one thing
to have a view
to have a view
about where tools should be.
about where tools should be.
It's another thing to maybe go overboard about it.
It's another thing to maybe go
Or
overboard
maybe
about
have
it.
excess concern.
Or have excess concern.
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 Excess
Excess concern.
concern.
Excess concern. Excess concern.
Excess
Excess
concern.
Okay. Even though I know I'm still right,
Even though I know I'm still right,
and I'm perfectly justified
and I'm perfectly
of getting all
justified,
tied up
getting all tied up
about where some tools are,
about where some tools
and where they
are
aren't.
and where they
This is
aren't.
where I think they should be.
This is where I think they should
I deeply,
be.
completely accept myself.
I deeply and completely accept myself.
Being neat is one thing.
Being neat is one thing.
Having it affect my life is something else.
Having it affect my life is
And
something
my
else.
relationship is something else.
And my relationship is something
Tools
else.
affect my relationship.
Tools affect my
They've got to be in the right
relationship.
place,
Gotta be in the right place.
or else.
Or else.
In the right place,
In the right place.
or else.
Or else.
In the right place,
In the right place.
or else.
Or else.
Or else.
Or else.
If you, I didn't ask you to do this first, but let me ask you now. If you would close your eyes a second, okay? And visualize those tools in disarray. And
Yes.
if your original response to them was a 10, your emotional response, which I didn't ask you first, but if that was a 10, by comparison, is it still a 10 or is it something else?
I had already thought about that picture, and it was a 5, and I don't know, it might even be gone now.
Well, we're looking for the emotional response to it.
Maybe I have a little irritation, like, just
Sure,
wish it
okay.
were different.
Okay, here we go. Even though Roger's a slob,
Even though Roger's a slob,
and just won't put those tools where I think they should be,
and just won't put those tools where I think they should
I
be.
deeply, completely accept myself.
I deeply and completely accept
And if I was
myself.
in Roger's tools,
I-
Roger's place,
If I were in Roger's place,
I would see it differently.
I would see it differently.
Maybe Roger really should be neater,
Maybe Roger really should be neater,
But that's Roger.
But that's Roger.
I wonder what would happen
Wonder what would happen
if Roger died yesterday.
If
Roger died
And
yesterday.
those tools were always where they should be.
Oh, those tools were already where they
I
should
wonder how
be.
uptight about it I'd really get.
Oh, I wonder how uptight about it I'd really get.
Okay. How uptight do I really need to be?
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 How uptight? Tools in disarray.
Tools in disarray.
Roger's a slob.
Roger's a slob.
Sort of.
Sort of.
Sort of.
Sort of.
Sort of.
Sort of.
Try the picture again and tell me what number you get to, if any.
Oh, there's no number now.
There's no number? Okay. Now, that doesn't mean that when you go home and you see those tools, you don't get an because we're not there where the tools are. The ultimate way to test that is to go home and see the tools in disarray. That's the ultimate way to test it. But the mere fact that you can't get worked up about it now means we've done something.
Yeah.
Maybe everything with it, I don't know.
Well, that really got me. You know, what's more important, him or the tools, where the
Yeah.
tools are?
Okay. Well, we do that sometimes. Now, Slob. You agree you're sloppy
Yeah, oh,
with
absolutely.
the tools,
Yeah.
but no big deal.
Well, I hope it's not a big deal for her.
Well, okay, well, she's done her part.
If I might get neater if she's not upset about it.
You might get neater if she's not upset.
Yeah.
Okay, see, that's interesting. That's written on your walls.
I'm a resistor.
You're a resistor. Okay,
Yeah.
so long as she's like that, in a way, subconsciously or whatever,
Oh, yeah,
yeah, you're gonna get her.
absolutely.
Okay, all right. Even though I have this little weapon,
Even though,
you borrow benefits, okay?
Okay.
Even though I have this little
Little
weapon,
even though I have this little
this little
weapon,
gotcha
this little,
This little
okay,
guy, yeah.
gotcha.
about leaving these tools around,
About leaving
Leaving
these
these tools around.
I'm not even sure why I'm doing it,
I'm not
I'm
even sure why I'm doing it,
it.
but I'm doing it anyway.
but I'm
I'm
doing it
doing it
It's
anyway.
somehow a need,
It's
It's
somehow,
somehow a need.
and I'd rather get her
I'd rather
Rather
get
get
her
her.
than put the darn tools away.
than put the darn
darn
tools
tools
away.
Or even be a little neater.
Or
Be a little
even
neater.
be a little
Okay,
neater.
this reason to get her,
Reason to get her.
this reason to get her, this reason to get her,
Reason to
Yes.
get her.
you say it, this reason to get her,
Reason to get her.
We can get her.
this reason to get her.
Oh,
You have a little hearing difficulty.
a little bit, yeah.
Okay, this reason to get her,
The reason to get her.
this reason to get
This
her,
reason to get her.
Get her.
this reason to get
This
her,
reason to
Reason
get her.
my adult gotcha,
My adult gotcha.
Gotcha.
my adult gotcha,
My adult gotcha.
my adult
My
gotcha,
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 adult gotcha.
my adult
My adult
gotcha,
gotcha.
my adult
My adult
gotcha.
gotcha.
Do you know what you're getting her for? The other things on your list.
Oh,
Well, you don't have to read them necessarily. I just asked you about this one instant. Do you have any idea what you're getting her for? Is it just generally for all these other
I
complaints?
hate being controlled.
You hate being controlled.
I hate being
Okay.
controlled.
All right. Even though I see Mary's complaint
Even though I see Mary's
as
complaint
a way of controlling me,
as a way of
As a way of
controlling
controlling
me,
damn it, I'm going to put the tools where I see
I'd like to
fit.
put the tools where I see fit.
I really think control's more important
I really think
I think
control is more
control is more
important.
than
important
this relationship.
than this
this
relationship.
relationship.
Yes, absolutely. I'm going to control.
I'm in control.
I'm in control.
I'm in
I'm in
control.
I'll show you.
I'll show you.
I'll show you.
I'll show you.
Look at that screwdriver.
Look at it.
Look at that wrench.
Look at that.
It's not where it's supposed to be.
Yes, not where it's supposed to be.
I
Yeah.
want to control.
I want to control.
I want to
I want to
control.
control.
Yes, sir, I'm controlling.
I'm controlling.
Nothing but control.
Nothing but control.
I love control.
I love control.
Now look at that saw.
No, look at that saw.
Yeah. And the hammer.
And the hammer.
That'll get you.
That'll get you.
You like to use the hammer.
You like to use the hammer.
Yeah, not the other stuff maybe, but the hammer. I'm going to hide it.
Yeah, I'm going to hide the hammer. Don't I have to do the accept myself thing?
You're beyond it, Roger.
I'm beyond.
Close your eyes a second. And look at this control issue. Get yourself in the place where you're doing the tools and you're leaving them there, we're going to be in the gotcha and the nan and all that. And tell me what degree of validity that has to you.
Validity?
Yeah, I know it's a new question. I
You
haven't
mean that, what, that she's controlling me?
No. How valid does it seem to you that these tools are achieving your goal of not being controlled?
Give it a number? Like
Well,
it has some
describe it.
it has some validity.
It has some
It
validity.
has some validity. Yeah, it's. I'd say most of it is because I'm a slob.
Is because you're a slob?
Yeah, I'd say 90% that, maybe 10% that I'm resisting doing what she wants.
Even though I have this aversion to being controlled.
Even though I have this aversion to being controlled.
Just like everybody.
Just
Just
like
like
everybody.
everybody.
Nobody wants to be controlled.
Nobody wants to be
But it
controlled.
may be in my past.
It may be in my past.
I was controlled
I was controlled
by maybe parents
by my parents
or somebody else.
or somebody
Or
else
teachers.
or
Or
teachers
somewhere or other.
or somebody or other.
I got the idea
I got the idea.
that I'm going to be independent here.
I'm going to be
I'm gonna be
independent
You
independent
here.
can't control
And
me.
you can't control me.
Come what may.
Come what may.
And I see this thing with this tool thing with Mary
And I do this tool thing with Mary
as her effort to control
in
me.
her effort to control me.
I've never asked her whether it's control or not.
I've never asked her
I
whether
never,
it's control.
I never what?
I never asked her whether she's
I
trying
never
to control me.
not asked her whether she's
Is
trying to
that true? You
control
never
me.
asked her, are you trying to control me?
No, I've
I just
never
assumed
answered.
it.
I just
Just
assumed
assumed
it.
it.
Yeah, she's trying to control me.
She's trying to
trying to
control
Look at
control
her,
me.
say,
me.
you're controlling me.
You're controlling me.
You're doing it to me.
You're doing it
Doing
to me.
Don't you know that?
Don't you know that?
Look at her, say, you're controlling me.
Yeah, you're controlling me.
You're controlling
You're
me.
controlling me.
Well, look right at her, not at
You're
me.
go-
Look at her.
You're controlling me.
No, let her.
You're controlling me.
Controlling me.
You're controlling me.
You're controlling me.
You're using those tools
You're using those tools
to control me.
to control
Control
me.
me.
Don't you know that?
Don't you know that?
Don't you see that?
You see that?
Don't you know that? Well, it seems absurd.
By the way, most of the things we do in relationships, when you get right down to them, we have comedies all over the place, okay? In fact, we have comedies in our head about everything. I'm a relationship, but money and everything else, you know. There's a lot of comedies going on. And see, in the purpose here, you see, I don't know what's going to happen when you get home. You know, you may still feel you're being controlled to a degree. You may still feel this sloppier than it should be, but chances are we've done something with this, so the I have to compromise bit is lowered. And hence any resentment that may be there is going to be lowered. Okay? But we'll only know that when you get there. What we're trying to do now is to collapse some of those excess emotional things and the comedies that are there. By the way, this is never a criticism. It's always an observation. If we'll observe what was really going on in our thought processes, I mean, these are candidates for Broadway shows that would go on forever. I mean, the comedies, you mean? It's your turn, Roger. Gripe number one. We won't be going through all of them, by the way.
Some of these don't make sense anymore, okay? I think so many of them are control issues. Maybe they all are. Okay, here's one. I hate it when you exaggerate the facts of a situation. Super dramatize it. Because then I feel like you're so far out of real reality, you know, that I have to talk to you about what's really going on. And then we're in conflict.
Okay. And what is an example? A real-life example that you can give us.
Okay, I'll give you a real-life example. I came home one day and there was a peanut on the counter. No. This was a rather large peanut, a pretty big peanut, okay? I picked it up and I ate it, okay? Mary came home and said, "What happened to the peanut?" I said, "I ate it." She said, "You ate that peanut? I was saving that peanut for the scrub jay."
For the what?
The scrub jay.
What's that?
It's a bird that comes around and likes peanuts.
Oh, okay.
I wanted the scrub jay to have this peanut. This is the biggest peanut I've ever seen. You ate my peanut. Okay, that's the kind of thing.
Okay.
He's right, I did do it just like that. And then he tells me I'm a lunatic.
She had not told me this was a special peanut. But
Okay. Well, okay, yeah, but getting back to it, I mean, to you it was a peanut.
It was a peanut, yeah.
Yeah, a big peanut.
Yeah, a nice big peanut, yeah. Right.
And in retrospect, maybe you could have said to yourself, well, that's unusual to see a peanut that big on the sink or whatever it was, so maybe I shouldn't touch it. I mean, in retrospect.
Wait, yeah, but the thing is, I should have known that was a special peanut.
Well, yeah, I know that. Yes.
okay.
From her point of view, you should have known.
I should have known.
Yeah, but in fact you didn't.
I didn't.
But in a way, because it's a bit unusual to see a large peanut sitting there on the sink or wherever it was.
I could have thought about it.
You could have thought about it, but you didn't.
I don't.
How insensitive, right?
Yeah.
However, she came out of her shorts on this, right?
Yeah.
Well, tap along with me, okay?
Okay.
Well, I'm going to stop a second. What I want to know is your emotional reaction to what she did. What's your self-talk?
I get really, really angry at her. It's that why are you making such a big deal out of this? It's just a peanut. I didn't know it was a special peanut. It's just a peanut.
Okay.
So I was furious at her for making such a big deal. This is a common male complaint, by the way.
Okay. All right. All right, tap right here. Tap right here. Even though, Mary,
Mary,
you made such a big deal
you made such a big
big
deal.
deal.
out of nothing more than a peanut.
Out of
About
nothing more than a
And
peanut.
maybe it was important to you.
And maybe
Maybe
it was important to
And
you.
I didn't really get it.
And I didn't really get it.
But I had big-time anger
But I had big time anger
at your response.
at your response.
And that's my inside job.
And that's
And
my
that's my
inside job.
It's maybe excess response.
It's maybe excess
excess
response.
Maybe I really didn't have to get angry,
Maybe I really didn't
yeah.
have to get angry,
at least to that degree.
at
Yeah,
least
not
to that degree.
I may have, maybe it would have been better
Maybe it would have
Maybe
been
it would have
in
been
better.
hindsight
In hindsight.
if I'd have just said, I didn't know it was that important.
If I had said, I
didn't
didn't know
know
it was that important. Oh,
important.
sweetie, I didn't know it was that important to you. I'm sorry.
Excess anger,
Excess anger.
Anger.
unnecessary anger.
Unnecessary anger.
Gets in the way of my relationship.
Gets in the way of my relationship.
It triggered something
It
else. no
triggered
doubt.
something else.
And it was only a peanut.
It was just only a peanut.
And I made a big deal.
And I made
She made a big deal out of
Yeah,
it.
she made a big deal out of
So
it.
did I.
So did I.
I got angry.
I got angry.
Just because she wanted to come out of her shorts a
Just
bit.
because she wanted to come out of her shorts.
Sometimes she comes out of her shorts, it's okay.
Sometimes it's okay.
But not over a dumb peanut.
But no,
And you got to choose your pronunciation, right?
Yeah, really.
oh my.
Now.
Well, a few of mine have
No, no,
gone.
no, 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 no. You came out of your shorts. Okay, you got
Yeah, I did.
you got overly worked up. I mean, well, I shouldn't say that.
I'd never seen
That's
a
my
peanut
value
like that.
judgment. I don't want to put it in here. In your view, did you get overly worked up about that, or is that totally completely justified in your view?
No, I was overreacting.
Okay. Now, it would be my guess that you overreact because that triggered something in you from your past. Even
Yeah,
though you're not able
yeah.
to articulate it. That would be my guess. Because that tends to be why we overreact on just about anything, because it reminds us,
Yeah.
something current, because it reminds us of stuff in the past. So there was some other time when somebody did something, a parent, a brother, a teacher, or something like that, that really got to you, and this was a reminder of that, even though you may or may not be able to articulate it.
Yeah,
Now, those are my
Yeah.
words. Does it land?
I'm sure that's true, yeah.
Okay. And as I said before, we're not going to start digging down into all of that, but we're going to just tap as we can here, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So even though
Even though,
Even though.
you borrow benefits,
Yeah, okay.
even though I got overly worked up about this,
even though I got overly worked up about this,
and I really wish I had this big peanut
and I
really
really wish I had this big
for
peanut
this bird,
for this
that
bird,
who frankly
who frankly
never knew the difference.
never knew the difference.
I deeply and completely accept myself?
Deeply and completely accept
Was
myself.
I defending the bird?
Was I defending the
Or
bird?
was I getting angry for some irrational reason?
Or was I getting angry for some irrational
And overly
reason?
worked up for some
Overly,
other reason?
And overly worked up for some other reason.
Okay. Overly worked up.
Overly worked up. Overly worked up.
You took my peanut!
You took my peanut.
You took my peanut!
My peanut.
You took my peanut!
You took my peanut.
You took my peanut! If you would close your eyes, Mary, close your eyes, and if you would get into the peanut thing. And when you first came out and you realized that suddenly this peanut was gone, and maybe Roger did it, and make a picture of this and tell me on a scale of 0 to 10, you know, how angry, how worked up you get about that.
I don't know, maybe a 1. I'm a little disappointed that I couldn't see how the bird would manage this huge peanut.
Even though I had my own self-interest here,
Even though I had my own self-interest here,
and I was really interested in how a bird would eat a peanut,
and I was really interested in how a bird would eat a peanut.
and it was worth landing on Roger about.
It was worth landing on Roger
I
about.
deeply, completely accept myself.
I deeply and completely accept
And
myself.
maybe this is yet another comedy
And maybe this is yet another
that we
comedy
can laugh about
that we can laugh about
instead of arguing about.
instead of arguing about it.
Okay. Want to do another?
Yeah. This is fun. All right.
Water.
I have a charge on something that happens on a somewhat regular basis with us. Roger's a little bit hard of hearing. So sometimes when I say something, he doesn't respond. So then I think, well, gee, did he hear me? So I have to ask him, did you hear me? And sometimes he's a little annoyed that I've asked him. But when I've made the request, could you please just grunt or something so I know you, you heard me. That's one part of it. And then there's another time when I'll say something and I'm looking right at him and he seems to get it, but later on there's, something we have to do or, it depended on that communication and he never heard me.
Is it, in truth, did you not hear her, or you just not want to let you know she heard you?
I think sometimes I don't hear her.
You did tell me once that you often didn't respond because you didn't think what I was, or you didn't listen because you thought what I was saying wasn't
Especially
important.
If I'm standing next to the fan or something. Anyway, but it's true. I have some trouble hearing sometimes. Yeah, and I don't let you know.
And you don't grunt appropriately.
Well, Mary wants a response, and sometimes a grunt will do it, and sometimes I have to tell her what I've heard. I don't know. I guess I don't know. I just don't want to bother.
Okay,
Doing
sometimes you actually hear, and it's another way of,
Oh yeah. Oh,
you can avoid control.
I
if you
hear,
don't.
and then she says, "Did you hear me?" And of course I heard you. But which is not cool.
Is that a way of control, of another gotcha?
Oh
Well, they think it's
no,
but what do they know?
that doesn't sound right. Doesn't sound right. Maybe sometimes I'm a little embarrassed at not hearing.
Okay.
I don't know. And then very often Mary doesn't hear stuff I say to her.
How do you know she doesn't hear?
Because I ask her if she heard, she said, no, I didn't hear that. I didn't,
So do you believe her?
So I believe her when she said she didn't, I didn't say that to her.
Okay.
Or she didn't hear me say it.
Okay. All right. You don't perceive that as a way to control you by saying I didn't hear.
No.
Oh, okay. All right. So I just need to get this accurate. Sometimes you will say something to him, and because of his hearing loss or hearing issue, he doesn't, either he doesn't hear you or he hears you and does not acknowledge it. And you want him to somehow acknowledge. How is he going to acknowledge he doesn't hear you if he doesn't hear you?
He could say, "Excuse me, could you repeat that?" Or,
Well, what if he didn't hear you say it in the first place?
"Oh, well, yeah, maybe he's not present." That's possible.
Well, I can tell you there are times when I'm not present.
Yeah,
I have
me
perfectly
too.
good hearing. Okay. Even though Roger can't fade out,
Even though Roger can't fade out,
and he has to listen to
That's
me
good.
every word I
Yes,
say,
he has to
This is
listen to
every
me
word I
every
say.
word I
and
say.
he has to acknowledge everything I say,
He has to acknowledge everything I
even if it's
say,
only a grunt.
even if it's only a grunt.
I deeply and completely accept myself.
I deeply and completely accept
I
myself.
may have stricter rules
I may have stricter rules
than what I need.
than what I need.
I could always make the effort
I could always make the effort
of going from one room to right in front of his face
right in front of his face,
to make sure he hears me,
make sure he hears me,
rather than assume he heard me
rather than assume he heard me
and didn't grunt.
And didn't.
didn't grunt.
Okay, I deeply and completely accept myself.
I deeply and completely accept myself.
Okay. I could take some responsibility here.
I could take some
Maybe
responsibility.
he doesn't really hear me.
Maybe 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 he doesn't really hear me.
But I can get worked up about it.
But I
But
can
I
get
can
worked
get
up
worked up
about it.
about it.
I can make things up in my mind
I can make things up in my
about what's
mind
really going on with Roger
about what's really going on with
and how
Roger
he's violating my rules,
and how he's violating my
the
rules.
same rules I never told him,
The same rules I never told
and
him.
never even wrote down for myself.
Never
Never even
wrote.
wrote down for myself.
After all, they're just obvious rules.
After all, they're just obvious rules.
Obvious rules.
Obvious
Obvious
rules.
rules.
Obvious
Obvious
rules. Obvious
Obvious
rules.
rules.
Obvious rules.
Close your eyes a second, if you would, and picture this event, and tell me on a scale of 0 to 10, how worked up you get now about him not hearing you, or not responding to you,
About a 2.
compared to what might it have been? I didn't-
Compared to like an 8, maybe.
Okay, all right. Here we go. Even though I need to understand
Even though I need to understand
where someone else is coming from,
where someone else is coming
including
from.
Roger,
Including Roger.
it's a task all of us have.
It's a task all of us have.
It's probably our biggest challenge as people.
It's probably our biggest challenge as
We make lots of
people.
assumptions,
Because we make lots of assumptions
and they get in our way.
and they get in our way.
Sometimes they cost us.
Sometimes they cost us.
Sometimes they cost us.
Sometimes they cost us.
Cost us
Oh,
dearly.
Cost us dearly.
Cost us dearly.
Cost us dearly. Cost us dearly.
Okay. If you would, you've been doing some borrowing benefits here, but I'd like to do is, well, here, you need to remind me of something because I've kind of lost a little bit. Your response to her when she eventually says, "Didn't you hear me?" is what?
It can be, depending on how I'm feeling, I could say, yeah, I heard you. Or, yeah, I heard you.
Okay. Yes. But at the time you say, "Yeah, I heard you," with a
I have a
little,
little energy on that.
energy on that.
Yeah.
What's your self-talk about that? Is this like she's trying to control you again? Is it like, I've got my own things to do here, that isn't that important to me right now? Put your best words around that.
I guess it's control. Mary has a habit of talking to me from the other end of the house. She'll be saying
I
something.
had an ex-wife like that, who had
Yeah.
an ex-wife, who had a very low voice, and all I could hear was that she was saying something to me.
Yeah, right.
And I would say, "Can you speak louder?"
No,
And she didn't even know how. She goes, well,
What I
so
say
I had to
is-
get up and go in there, and I resented it big time, but I don't want to tell anybody that.
what I say is, could you come to where I am and talk to me instead of talking from 3 rooms away? Because I can't hear from 3 rooms away. Maybe she could.
Okay, do you say that to her, or that's your self-talk?
Yeah, I know, I say that.
You say that to her?
Yeah, on occasion that happens, yeah.
Oh, okay.
And I go. He's
Oh,
right.
okay.
I think he's right about that.
Now, usually I come to you.
Oh, really? Not in my world.
both of you. Even though we haven't resolved this hearing thing yet.
Even though we haven't resolved this hearing thing yet.
Maybe this is a place where compromise comes into place.
Or Mary, this is a
Could be a place where compromise comes into place.
Mary's going to have to understand, Roger can't hear everything
Mary's going to have to understand Roger can't hear everything
from 3 rooms away.
from 3 rooms away.
And maybe even a normal hearing person couldn't hear it.
And
Maybe even a normal hearing person couldn't hear
So
it.
she's going to have to move a little bit.
She's going to have
She's
to
going
move
to
a
have to
little bit.
move a little bit.
I don't know what else to do from there. Okay, that's a compromise thing. Okay, I tell you what. We've gone on a little bit. It's time to take a break.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, would you guys give your impression of what went on here? Good, bad, or otherwise, but you need to be accurate here. Not everything went away and it's wonderful. We have this great relationship. Thank you, Gary, or anything like that. What are the pros and cons? What worked? What didn't work here? That kind of thing.
Well, the humor worked. It was really fun to do it. And
Okay.
I can't even remember it, but I remember the 2 points that worked for me. The one in the first issue when you said, oh God, I can't remember it now.
If Roger died yesterday.
Yeah, if he died yesterday, and it just clicked like, oh my God, that's not really that important.
Yes.
What am I doing?
Sure.
So that made a big impression on me, and I felt it shift.
Okay.
And the other thing was when you were doing, and it's cost me because I realized that instead of intimacy and love and freedom and playfulness, I had complaining and anger.
Yes.
And it has cost me.
It costs us all the time. Yeah. Roger?
Well, Mary said it better than I could, I think. Could I say something about compromise, though?
Please.
Because I don't see compromise as necessarily saying, I'm going along in handcuffs. I see it depends. If you're going along in handcuffs, of course you're going to resent that.
Yeah, that's the type of compromise I'm talking
Okay,
about.
but there's the kind of compromise where you say, I see your need, I'm willing to give it to you, I'm willing to give something in myself to take care of your need. And I think we've both done that a lot. And that's love, in my opinion.